Hey guys, just wanted to make a quick video on the interactions with Ralakesh's Impatience and the rework of them. I want to apologize ahead of time. This is my first narrated video. I've just got a few bullet points on the side. It's a little unscripted and it's all one take, as you can tell, so bear with me. I'm just looking at a character, shell character from Standard, with 3 of all max charges, 0 lightning res to test endurance charges, and I've got a bone shatter setup with enduring composure, power charge and critical, and then some quality of life just so we can generate charges whenever we please. I've got 2 writhing jars plus the trader just so I can do this all in my hideout, and I've also just got a discharge gem to test whether or not we can generate spendable charges, because discharge cannot be used if you don't have any quote-unquote spendable charges. All right, so we're gonna get booted up in just 1 second here. Almost. Here we go. It's just an old standard character here. Let me go back to my hideout. All right. So first off, I'm just going to check to see whether or not the boots actually change their text. That's probably the most important part. It should be affecting... Yes, it does. So it looks like we have the count as having maximum number of charges, which is good. First thing I want to test is whether or not I can actually generate charges off of these worms, which in the top left you can see Enduring Composure is ticking up after I hit myself with Bone Shatter. It's probably the best way to just generate easy endurance charges. And then you can see my lightning res is at 12. If I use discharge, it goes back down to 0, signifying that I don't have any charges whatsoever. So if we put on the boots, interesting enough, there's no buff bars at the top left. However, we do have that 12% lightning res, and it looks like on the charges screen we have 3 out of 3 on every single charge, which is good. It's kind of stuff that we would expect. And then one other thing I want to check to see is whether or not increased damage per charge actually works. So if we look at Bone Shatter, we have 2,656 damage per second. If we go into the crafting piece here, what is charges? Of course I don't have Chaos Orbs. You can tell I never come back to Standard. If we go to Power Charge, does in fact go up a little bit, so that just confirms that any sort of per power charge, per frenzy, per endurance charge mods actually take effect with your full amount of charges. Stuff we kind of knew, but I just wanted to verify just in case. Alright, the next part is I wanted to see if I could actually generate spendable charges. So if I have these boots on, looks like we can still get the same sort of buffs in the top left. It doesn't really change what we have for lightning res or anything like that, but if I use discharge, get sort of like we would expect. That's a good thing just to make sure, for your flicker strikes, for your new consecrated path, thicker strike sort of thing. You can still generate charges with these boots on, which is good. Next thing I want to check is actually Malachai's Loop. This one has interesting mods on it where it says lose all power charges on reaching maximum and shocks you when you reach maximum. So what I anticipate, and this might take a couple of tries to actually get up to 5. Okay, so interesting. So you see how the 4 power charges actually went down and we got rid of all of the quote-unquote spendable power charges? You'd still have to... I think you still have the count as having the maximum power charges, but I would expect the reaching maximum power charges to never be met, and it looks like that's not the case. So if you ever were to run this or Tull Falls with any sort of spell build, you have to worry about the shock and somehow mitigate it. And you can't use spells like, I'm thinking like the new Cold Snap of Power that you need power charges to generate. That kind of sucks, but it can be worked around. And I think the big thing that people are looking for is whether or not you can generate brutal charges as well as endurance charges. So the most important thing we want to look at now is, looks like we have lightning resistance at 16. Remember, this gives +1 max endurance charges. So it looks like we still have maximum endurance charges, which is cool. And if we hit these, we generate brutal charges. That is amazing. So We have 4 brutal charges. We have 4 endurance charges. We can double dip with Maven belts, which is absolutely massive. Let me just not exactly try to get rid of brutal charges. There we go. Let me just double check the minimum endurance charge on a charge ring. It gives the brutal charges, and you still have your max endurance charges. This is going to be super strong for a bunch of things. Arn's Anguish is just good in general. It gives you 3% chance to deal triple damage for each brutal charge. Stun threshold's always nice too. But note that this doesn't say attack damage. It can be used for spells. It can be used for a bunch of different things. I can see this being good with Juggernaut specifically because you can still cash in on a lot of the per endurance charge modifiers that it grants. Also, this is really good for just applying non-damaging ailments like chill or shock, or even brittle and scorch. Triple damage, every so often weaving in attacks, we'll be able to cap out those ailments pretty easily. One other notification I want to look at here is Alessia's Delight alongside Snakebite. Snakebite's going to be insane this league, I think, with Alessia's Delight as well. If you actually look, if we go in here and put on this belt, I don't really have a good way to generate frenzy charges because I'm just doing them on kill right now on the tree. But hopefully, yeah, we do have an affliction charge, and we should have max frenzy charges if we go into offense. We have the chance to poison from main hits at 60%, which is what the gloves give. I think this is going to be insane together because Alessi's Delight affliction charges give 8% more damage with ailments. So any sort of chaos poison build or anything like that, these two are a match made in heaven with these boots. I'm planning on actually using this combination with Tainted Pact and that new tincture that's coming out with all damage can poison. Be great for Giga regen whenever you want. And the last belt, Graven Secret, this is probably the more niche one where we have max power charges and then something called absorption charges, which gives recoup of elemental damage taken as energy shield. This is just a generally good stat in general, which is good for any sort of energy shield power charge stacking character. But the one thing I was thinking about actually using it for was Herald of Thunder. Because every time you hit an enemy with Herald of Thunder, you take 250 lightning damage. You can actually use that damage to heal, which is kind of crazy. Thinking about equipping 2 Storm Secrets and then maybe a Crest of Desire. I know a lot of meme builds have been floating around on the internet now with that interaction, so might be something to check out. And then obviously a couple of other notable mentions is Badge of the Brotherhood. This is going to be crazy good this league with Ralakesh's Impatience, just because you can get max frenzy and max power charges at the same time, as well as was it Inner Conviction, I believe, is the notable on the tree that makes it so you can't generate frenzy charges, but you get 3% more spell damage per power charge. You can cash in on power charges and frenzy charges and save on what you would otherwise spend on Grand Spectrums. However, Grand Spectrums are also going to be good because those set the minimums for your quote-unquote alt charges that we have from these belts. Super good. I'm actually pretty excited about this. A little disheartened about this Malachi's Loop interaction, but we can get around that. So, in summary, looks like all sorts of per charge mods work. Reaching max power charges still gets rid of your spendable charges, so you can't use them with any sort of like Cold Snap of Power or anything like that on a Toll Fall or a Malachi's Loop. And then the Maven belts are going to be insanely strong. You can double dip on both endurance charge, brutal charges, or frenzy, affliction charges, power charges, and absorption charges. A lot of builds are going to be built around these. I have a feeling that this interaction is going to be very strong. All right, thanks guys. Enjoy the league start.